Donald Trump's high-top golden sneakers sold out less than a day after the Republican frontrunner for president used a stop on the campaign trail to hawk those almost $400. They're $399. Trump-branded shoes at a sneaker con in Philadelphia. The launch came a day after a devastating blow to his finances when a New York judge ordered Trump to pay $355 million plus interest for lying about his wealth for years to secure favorable loans. Joining me now, David Cay Johnston, founder of DCReport.org and co-author of The Big Cheat, How Donald Trump Fleeced America and Enriched Himself and His Family. It's always good to have you on the show. So let's get into this, because I've got to ask you about those golden shoes. Are there any kind of a golden ticket for Trump? I mean, is this a realistic way to put a dent in all those legal bills?
It's a way to divert attention and show once again that Donald Trump isn't now and never has been a billionaire. He sold out a small run of these shoes, and there's no way he's going to put a dent in the total amount that's already on the table, which comes to, with interest, more than $500 million to E. Jean Carroll and to the state of New York for his persistent frauds. And there's more cases coming, Alex, by police officers at the Capitol and others.
You know, you're right. Absolutely. We're not factoring that in because we're so focused on all that is out there officially underway. But you're right. Let's together look a bit more closely at the financial burden that Donald Trump is now facing with all of these legal fees and fines. We're going to look at the money that he owes. And this is what I'm going to have our viewers look at this wall here and all the graphics panels. But here's the question I ask. On the witness stand last year, Donald Trump said he had a lot of cash. But do you think he's going to be able to come up with the more than $500 million that he may owe as fast as the courts require?
I think it's far more likely that Donald will do the same thing that his unpaid lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, did, and Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist, did. He will seek refuge in bankruptcy court. And, well, I don't think that will save him from the judgments at the end of the day. It certainly will delay them and allow him to continue posing as a man worth, as he claimed when he announced in 2015, a man worth well north of $10 billion.
How many times has he filed for bankruptcy? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, I do. Donald's never personally filed for bankruptcy. In 1990, thanks to the New Jersey Casino Control Commission taking his side against his bankers, he had the private equivalent of a bankruptcy and shed $1 billion in debt. His publicly traded casino company went bankrupt 4 times when he was there. He was then paid to go away. It went bankrupt 2 more times, and then it failed entirely. So this, if Donald were to file personally, this would be the first time he's actually filed bankruptcy, but it would delay everything. And that's Donald's fundamental legal game. Delay, delay, delay. The second part of the game is accuse law enforcement and others who want to hold you to account. You're perfectly, Donald, I'm perfectly honest. Everyone else is corrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. So under Judge Engoron's ruling, David, Donald Trump's going to be barred from running a business in New York for the next 3 years. How limiting do you expect that to be? Who's going to keep his current businesses operating? Because neither of his 2 sons can do it for 2 years.
Well, that's effectively, I think, going to turn out to be the function of the independent compliance monitor or director who the judge ordered to be in there in the business. Any routine transactions will go on, meeting weekly payroll, paying vendors for delivering wine to the restaurants. That'll go on as normal. But any significant transactions will have to be approved in advance by Judge Barbara Jones, the retired jurist who is the monitor. And the day-to-day operations will all take place under the aegis of this independent person who's yet to be appointed. This is for Trump is complete humiliation. I mean, he claims to be a business genius, as I've called him, a modern Midas who turns everything he touches to gold. And that's just not what the factual history of Trump shows. He's a huge destroyer of wealth.
Look, this conversation proves you have very closely examined Trump's business acumen. How much of a reckoning is this for the former president, particularly with respect to the title of your book, which proves how closely you've watched him as well? It's called The Big Cheat, How Donald Trump Fleeced America and Enriched Himself and His Family. So put it in perspective.
Well, Donald's entire life has been based on lying, denying, deceiving, cheating. That's why I call him the greatest con artist in the history of the world, because he conned his way all the way to the White House. He has a long history of not paying his workers, not paying vendors, not paying lawyers. He cheated novice roulette players at one of his casinos, the only time we've ever known of any cheating at casinos there. He plied children as young as 12 with liquor, limousines, and free hotel rooms, suites actually, so that they would gamble the money that they had. And sometimes children can be quite wealthy. His whole life has been one of manipulation and then blowing large sums of money. His book, The Art of the Deal, is essentially the story of here's all the frauds I committed, one after another. I cheated this person at golf. I cheated my partners in my Atlantic City casino. I cheated this deal and I cheated that deal. Although at the time, reviewers didn't seem to grasp the confessions Trump was making in that book, very brilliantly written by Tony Schwartz.
Okay, David Cay Johnston, always good to speak with you. Thank you so much.